Hi, Hare Krishna. 1 second, let me get comfortable here. Uh, Again, my deepest gratitude to the regular attendees. I appreciate it so much. Um, okay, let's get where we're going quickly. Okay, we're going to start at 193. I know we did that before, but I'll go quickly. Um, okay, here it is. Mostly reading the English verses. Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, volume 2, chapter 4, text 193. We're getting close to entering Braj. I was just, I'm studying with Dhanurdhara Swami, and the scenes there, when Gop Kumar comes to the spiritual world, there's one scene, I'm trying to recall this scene where Krishna's coming back from the forest, and he's just arrived in the spiritual world. And he sees the gopis running towards Krishna, and he joins the gopis. And then Krishna's with his friends. And when Krishna sees him, who's now Sarup, that's his spiritual identity, Krishna runs ahead of the cowherd boys to see him with such ecstasy that actually Krishna himself faints. So it's really beautiful. So we're going to enter, I think we're in chapter 6. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tāratamyaṁ tu kalpyeta sva-sva-sevānusārataḥ. tat-tad-rasa-sajātīya sukha-vaicitry-apekṣayā. The hierarchy among devotees is only imagined according to their own forms of service and according to the happiness each devotee derives from his own relationship with Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Shindu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Just a short context. First of all glories to Gopi Pranadhana and his editors, Jayadvaita Swami and Keshava Bharti Maharaj. You're getting something, this most enriched Rasa Shastra, which we didn't have when we grew up in Krishna consciousness. And Rasa Shastra means the stories and philosophy that are really geared on invoking emotion into you so that you gradually realize, maybe in a general way, then maybe in a specific way, and this is described as the purpose of Diksha in Bhakti Sandarbha. I mentioned many times, Bhagavat Sarup Gyan, Sambandha Vishesh Gyan. Bhagavat Sarup, your form. Bhagavat Sarup Gyan, the knowledge of God, the God whom you worship. And Sambandha Vishesh Gyan, and your specific Sambandha relationship. At least specific enough to have a feeling for Braj. That's the whole purpose of this book, is to give you a feeling for Braj, that you want to enter there. And you all have my invitation to visit Govardhan. It's a great place to get that feeling. I'll put up on my WhatsApp group, which I don't, somehow that's not my thing. I'm not realizing it too much. But the work that's been done there to make really good facilities right by the side of Govardhan Hill. I'm counting the days. 5 weeks and 2 days, I'll be headed back. I invite you to visit. So in inspiring us in that, he wants us to understand two things. Who are the topmost recipients of Krishna's mercy? And where do people with that kind of love, what is the environment manifest that inspires that love and represents that love? That's the second book. And he's doing it by showing the glories of the hierarchy of every place in the universe above earth, getting to the spiritual world and describing how wonderful they are, with the purpose of trying to give you a sense how great is something that's much better than that. And through this, you'll see with Sanatana Goswami, when he describes Gop Kumar coming into Braj, he says, and I saw many wonderful things. Doesn't even describe initially what those things are. He said, because I can't even describe him. He makes that over and over again. We don't have the capacity in our intellectual frame of reference to understand the level of beauty and sweetness and the love and the ecstasy it represents. So, Gop Kumar now is in Vaikuntha. He sees Vishnu, their relationship is there, but again, the same point mentioning. The environment doesn't allow the full manifestation of that relationship to manifest. And even in the world, we'll see that the manifestation of relationship is, in many, many ways, is confined to the environment you're in. You're working in an office or something, your best friend comes in and have to tone it down. Anyway, Gop Kumar is ecstatic because it is his friend that he's seeing. And Krishna is ecstatic because it is his friend he's seeing. But they're constrained by the atmosphere. So there's happiness in seeing the friend, and there's separation. There's separation in union. And that's very intense too. And part of Gop Kumar's journey is getting this hankering. And his journey is our journey. Somehow or other, we have to get this hankering. Beyond the perfunctory, if that's the right word, beyond the rituals and the activities, we somehow have to come to somewhat of an inner life, both in thoughts and in emotions. And this is part of it. When I'm studying with Niranjan Swami, His Holiness, one day he reads, one day I read. And when he reads, I not only try to hear, I try to envision what's happening. The best method of recall is not taking notes. I guess it's one method of making you more attentive than perhaps you would be. But the best method of recall, I've read this, is you listen attentively, and then after it's finished, you practice recalling it. You write down. I mean, if you really write down, what did I remember? Anyway, Gop Kumar, Narada takes him aside, and practically the rest of the chapter is Narada's Guru Tattva, helping him realize and come closer to his objective and goal, which is the purpose of Guru. And he first does that because he was too informal in Vaikuntha. Among the saints there, it was a little bit disturbing. Not disturbing, but they couldn't understand it because it's not their I know I'm going to sneeze at least 3 times. I'm going to shut it off. You can get the sound, but not the vision here. Be second. Be right there. Chant Hare Krishna. Let's see if it comes back. So he takes them and explaining, don't feel bad. We always see that Vaishnavas are compassionate. They always think of others before themselves. If we are Vaishnavas, we should practice humility. Actually, it's mentioned later in the just ate. it's mentioned later in the next chapter that this dainya is this utter humility is equal to prema, and that you can practice it. How do you practice it? You put your body where you want your mind to go. You serve people. Anyway, he tells them the glories of Braj and then goes on in explaining Vaikuntha. He gives him Vaikuntha Tattva. Prabhupada also gives us Vaikuntha Tattva. The Bhagavatam gives us Vaikuntha Tattva. So we can't say that it's not part of the path that we're on either. Or we can't say that no one is on the path of understanding some Vaikuntha Tattva. And then Lakshmi Tattva. And then back to Krishna Tattva. And then when he explains Krishna Tattva, he explains Krishna's supremacy. And then this Sanatana Goswami's genius, I'm getting so deep into this text, how he understands what we need to understand so that when we hear the absolute truth, we will understand it as the absolute truth. It's just a common thing. How many people are seeing the same thing and having so many different opinions about it? And I've made that point many times, my own kind of categories from studying Shastra. Hearing is attentiveness, hearing is understanding, hearing is attitude, hearing is the senses, and hearing is the mercy of the object of hearing. If it has that, if it's a person and you want to perceive a person, it requires the mercy of that person to reveal himself, which is very, very apropos for the path of bhakti. Now we're getting to two more points, which we'll study today. One point we've read before, and because Sanatana Goswami wants to repeat it and have us understand it, is what this hierarchy of relationships is with Krishna, because it creates a quandary. If there is a hierarchy, then some people are apparently being deprived of the greatest happiness, and doesn't that limit God's mercy? And the thing is, if he doesn't have a hierarchy, then he's not a Kila Rasamrita Murti. Then he doesn't have the full experience. So Sanat Goswami is very concerned about this point. And I've written about it, that there has to be a difference, but there's not a difference. Infinite ecstasy in all relationships. We'll go over that. And then Sanatana Goswami wants us to understand in terms of manifestation of God, the deities. And he wants to clarify this point, what it means that the deities, what it means that the deities are for neophytes. Because it's one of the aspects of Anga Bhakti. Anga Bhakti are the 5 most potent items of devotional service. You should know them. Chanting the holy name, serving the deities, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, serving the Vaishnavas, and going to the holy places, visiting Vrindavan, visiting the holy dhams. So it's one of the most important processes. And all our great acharyas in the practice of Raganuga Bhakti had a form of God that they worshiped, which corresponded with the desires in their hearts in terms of their relationship. Lord Chaitanya, when he went to South India and he went to Sri Rangam, he carved a deity of Lord Jagannath. He carved a deity of Lord Jagannath. So how important is, so why does it say it's for neophytes? So let's go and cover those points. Okay. So hierarchy among devotees is only imagined. It's only imagined. According to their forms of service and the happiness they derive from their own relationship. What then is the basis for no hierarchy exists? It's only imagined as a device for comparing different kinds of devotional service. Each devotional relationship or rasa and its corresponding varieties of pleasure may be measured in terms of relative degrees of perfection. But even if, as some people hold, such a hierarchy is factual, no pure Vaishnava thinks himself deprived of anything. All the Lord's devotees feel completely satisfied and happy. I explained this point. You're all regular attendees, which I appreciate. We'll just go quickly now and get to the deity worship. Some of the residents, let's take a few verses. Some of those residents of Vaikuntha are eternal associates of the Lord, and others come here for his mercy, have gained the privilege to enter. So Nitya Parikas and Sadhana Siddhas, again, this he just wants to say this hierarchy, there may be different functions. And you may doubt there's a difference between the new devotees and the old devotees. Although everyone equally enjoys the bliss of worshiping the Lord, certain differences are conceived that devotees are considered relative outsiders or insiders, depending, example, whether they serve the Lord from afar or nearby. Just different varieties of tastes. And again, a mother would never want to become a lover. The friend would not want to become a lover. The servant would not want to become a lover. You can tell them till Timbuktu, that's an old phrase. You can tell them to the end of the earth. And when you have a relationship with someone, you don't want, and you pursue it, and it's fulfilling, and it's reciprocal, and it's deep, then that's the satisfaction, full satisfaction of life. No one can want anything else. Again, the truth is no real difference in devotional achievement, only different services. If some Vaishnavas insist on the idea of different degrees of perfection, the idea may be granted, but the differences are insignificant, which is interesting because the whole purpose of this book by Sanatana Goswami is to present the glories of Braja Bhakti. And then making a point that, of course, there is a difference between the Lord and his devotees. And we're going on and on. Now it comes to deity worship. So we have some time to discuss that. And so it is with his incarnations. What is it? They're not different. They are also where does it say non-different? Okay. they're also non-different because they are all avatari-tvam. They're all non-different from Sri Krishna Dev, for they are complete embodiments of Sat Chit Ananda. But although Krishna is considered non-different, he's also different because he's the source and because of his own sweet perfections. So, we'll go on. And what impressed Krishna's devotees, however, is his infinitely varied sweetness. By seeing his beauty and other glories, they're constantly assured that he's different from everyone else. Only by this deep appreciation of Krishna's supremacy can his most fortunate devotees sustain their exalted love for him and share intimate exchanges with him in the ecstatic taste of transcendental rasa. Okay, now we'll go where we should go further. Vedanti Kechit Bhagavan Hi Krishna Susachidananda Ganaika Murti Sayat Param Brahma Pare Tu Sarve Natat Parishada Brahma Maya Vimuktai. Some persons say that the Lord Krishna is the exclusive embodiment of perfect eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He is, after all, the Supreme Brahman. But his associates are liberated souls who are also embodiments of Brahman. So some may propose that Krishna is absolute, but his devotees are on that same absolute platform. Of course, there's a difference, but it's the same Advayam Gyan, the same divine consciousness. Eko Bahu Sham, the one expands for the purpose of service. And the equality comes because of the shared experience of love in any relationship. You cannot say that Krishna enjoys our love more than we enjoy our love. And in fact, he enjoys our love to the extent that we enjoy our love. So there's that equality in relationship. And this concept of the absolute reality that's presented in the tat-tad-rasa-sajātīya Upanishads of rasa vai saha. Saha, he is. Rasa, vai, certainly, rasa. He's certainly this ecstatic relationship. That's what exists in the ultimate reality. And I once wrote about that when we wrote that drama with Alexander Strain, Krishna and the Serpent, that everyone here is looking for pleasure, and pleasure is love. If it exists here, why should it not exist in our source, the ultimate reality? Bhaktanan Visheshaya Lila Vigraha-dharana Taya Bhagavata Saktya Chidvalasa Sarupaya. This equality is created by a special potency of the Lord, a playful aspect of his pure spiritual self. As Krishna assumes various forms for his pastimes, she creates varieties of ecstasy in devotional service. So the equality is created by his Shakti, by his potency, for the sake of Visheshaya Lila, for the sake of various potencies, and creates this variety of ecstasy and relationships. What a perfect conception of the absolute reality. I always explain that when, I went to college, we didn't have all the books. And my friend, who I met in California and joined the Hare Krishna movement there, he was coming back, and one day, I don't know, like now, I'm not one. I'm at the seat here, I could sit all day. So I never was I didn't like going out much ever. I mean, I did, but somehow it was my, I don't know, maybe my junior year of college. And I was like, I don't know, one night, maybe even Saturday night, I don't feel like going out. And all of a sudden I felt this impetus to get in the car. And it was about 25, maybe 30 minutes to get to the university, the the reception hall where the dining room is, where I don't know what you call it. And I was impelled to go, And actually, this is not the story I wanted to tell, but when I went in there was people at the reception, and it was two devotees. It was Lakshmi Moni and her husband, Jagadish. And then the person, I remember his name, Bob Fireman, was the receptionist. And he said, there's the person I was telling you about, because people knew I was like a devotee. And then they said to me, we knew that a devotee must have been here because there's Lord Jagannath. And someone put a picture of Lord Jagannath behind the reception. It wasn't me. I don't think I knew who Lord Jagannath was. And interesting thing is, there's these deities, I believe they're Radha Shura Gopinath in Toronto. And I don't think the people know that I had a part. Jagadish and Lakshmi Moni were coming down to the harbor in New York to pick up the deity shipped from India. And they needed a place to stay for the night. So I put them up for the night. I remember they asked to make hot milk, and they told me to read Krishna book. But that's when I think I got the first Bhagavad Gita, because it wasn't printed yet. And the way I got the Krishna book is when my friend, who had left school to become a hippie in California, where I met the devotees when I was visiting him, he was coming home to plead conscientious objector. And he gave me a Krishna book. And I remember just reading and then coming to that point. It seemed so reasonable. I told you in the university, in one philosophy class, the conception of God was that being of which no greater that can be conceived. And when I read Krishna book, how do you conceive? If you conceive of God as just an amorphous mass, I can conceive of something greater than that. An amorphous mass which can talk. And more than that, an amorphous mass who has family, has relationships. Or if you just perceive of God as just a person, I can conceive of something greater than that. Mayam tatamidam sarvam jagat avyaktimurtana. By my energy, I pervade everything. So I was reading this. The prayers, I remember the prayers of the demigods. Here's a very personal conception of God, but look at the prayers. But he doesn't have the defect of lacking omnipotence, omniscience, omnibenevolence. He doesn't lack any of the qualities that you expect a supreme absolute reality to have. And he doesn't lack personhood. So this equality is created by the special potency of the Lord, a playful aspect of his pure spiritual self. It is his nature, chit vilas, the playful consciousness, which is sarupaya, his essential nature for lila. So it's explaining now a little bit of the tattva of the living entity who has this kind. It's just saying it wasn't equal, but it has this type of equality. So they accept this duality in one sense. It's not, it's a chintya beta beta tattva, but this sameness of God accepts the difference of God for service. And I don't like to, it's the same group, but I have to repeat it again, the same point, that within God, there must be something outside of God if God is to enjoy love. Sri Gopkumar Uvacha Krishna Mayedam Bhagavan Tale Tishtanti Ashri Patama Mahaprabho Tachat Ananda Ganastvaya Tachit Tatsatchidananda Ganastvaya Mata Niladrinata Purushottamayata. My Lord, Gopkumar then asked, because he's attracted. He was the he was the king of Puri. So my Lord, some divine deity forms of Godhead, like Lord Purushottama, the master, are present on earth, and you consider them embodiments of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So he's excited about that. Eko pi Bhagavan Sandra Sachidananda Vigraha Kripaya tat-tad-rasa-sajātīya tat-tad-rupena lilaya. The one personality of Godhead, whose body is all Satchidananda, mercifully enacts the pastime of being present in various places and various forms. This is God's manifestation. Just like Gopkumar went, and in Satyaloka there was one manifestation, in this loka, and then in the spiritual world in Vaikuntha, and there was as many manifestations of God as there are living entities and desires. So Narada is telling him, and he's the one that composed the Narada Pancharatna, that this one personality of Godhead, his body is always Satchidananda, Kripaya, by his mercy, tatra aste, tat rupena, for lila. He enacts this lila or pastime of being present in so many forms. And now we can glorify Prabhupada. I mean, the 6 Goswamis established deities. How many deities did Prabhupada establish around the world? And sometimes in the history of ISKCON, some people say, I've heard, that the greatest preachers were the deities because they kept the communities of Vaishnavas alive. And Prayenalpa Yashashubha Kalavis Minyugajana Munda Sumanda Mateo Manda. It's so surcharged with opposition. The modern life, we all see that. We see that. Prabhupada, inspired us to transcend, but we see the struggles that are there. And the deities are very, very merciful, because it allowed people, very fortunately, to develop a relationship with God. Purport, to increase his own pleasure, God is always increasing his own pleasure because he's the supreme enjoyer, which means whatever pleasure he attains, it can always be increased. And that increase is also there eternally. To increase his own pleasure and show kindness to devotees and to the whole world, Lord Krishna appears in Puri and other places as deities like Lord Jagannath. His deity forms appear not only on earth, but also on other planets of Bhulok and in the higher and lower planetary systems. You know, hearing Shastra really develops faith. If I was in Vrindavan, right after class, I would go see Radhasham Sundari, Krishna Balaram, and Sri Gaura-Nitai. If I was in the Bhakti Center, I would go downstairs and see Radha Murlidhar. If I lived in downtown Brooklyn, I would go see Sri Radha Govinda. It's inspiring. This faith, we're hearing from Shastra, we're hearing from Sanatana Goswami. The deities are Krishna. And just as he manifests any other incarnations, tat-tad-rasa-sajātīya, kodosha-syatararchane, katachit kriyamanepi, mahalabho prabhadyate. What then could go wrong with worshiping those forms, disregarding everything else? I would think that no matter how this was done, it would bring great results. So sometimes they say, oh, this is neophyte, and you're neglecting other things to do it. But it seems, Narada is saying, illogical by such dedication. And the purport, it says, all other devotional practices are included in deity worship. This morning, with my deities, I've developed a nice practice. I have Agni Dev's Ebaro Karuna Kora. And I have the little Prabhupada deity, and when I set up the deities, I'm listening to all this glorification of the Vaishnavas, that even if you're near them, all sins go away. You can bathe in the Ganga many, many times to be purified, but seeing you once, you become purified. The devotee says, Krishna's in my heart, but Govinda says the devotees are in my heart. If you commit an offense to the holy name, you can chant, but if you commit an offense to the Vaishnava, there's no hope. It goes on and on. So that's deity worship, but then it also becomes, and then I listened to a little bit, maybe Agni Dev Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kora Mora, Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar. So Kirtan is also there. Tatakatam Pura Nebhya Suyante tat-tad-uktaya apramanam chatane sur mahan mukha panisrita. But why then, therefore, do we hear different opinions about this from the Puranas? The Puranic statements, coming as they do from the mouths of exalted souls, cannot be less authoritative. So you hear things that are opposite. I listened to Namras, he had Hari Parshad. I listen 10 minutes a day. But he made a nice point that sometimes you'll see that there may be differences in great acharyas. So if Prabhupada says something, you reject that, you get cut off from the sampradaya. If you reject what some of the previous acharyas say, you get cut off from the sampradaya. The different opinions have to be reconciled within time. And if you can't, no problem. So he's going to reconcile them. And I guess he thinks this is also important because the deity worship's important. And there's two things you can do. You can hear these statements and neglect them, or you can and minimize one of the aspects of Panchanga Bhakti. So I'll give a little summary what he says. He says that it's criticizing people who approach the deity but don't see God within the hearts of devotees. Those type of people, deity worship is for neophytes. Not for those who in the mood of spontaneous devotion see the Lord of their heart externally manifest and get an opportunity to serve them personally. And now they give quotes of these things that deprecate the deities from the Bhagavatam, apparently. A devotee who faithfully engages in worship the deity in the temple, but does not behave properly towards other devotees or people in general, is called prakrita bhakti, a materialistic devotee, and it's considered to be the lowest position. One who worships the deity in the temple, but who does not know that the Supreme Lord is Paramatma, is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance, and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. Yeah, a fire gets ashes. It's already ashes. What is the use of that? What is the use of such deity worship? He gives some use at the end, but my dear mother, even if a person worships me with proper rituals and paraphernalia, if he's ignorant of my present in all living entity, he never pleases me by worship of my deities in the temple. These and other statements of Shastra, such as pratima manda buddhinam, the deity is meant for persons who are less intelligent, come from the mouth of sages. But for this reason, Tatruttvoktam prabho puja margari gurunamuna utaya paramanandam mam ashlishedamutaram. So the deities are really accessible and anybody can enter into worship. So it's the spiritual practice that extends practically the widest. I can't say a holy name, but we see it extends so widely and accommodates so many people. So I guess this statement is to kind of announce that we shouldn't be like those people that just come to the temple and then go back and offend others when God is also in their hearts. This mood of Vaishnavism is so beautiful. Worshipping everybody, folding our hands, offering service. Narada Muni is the first spiritual master for the path of worshiping the deity, the Lord. Upon hearing my question, he stood up, embraced me in extreme ecstasy, and answered in this way. Sri Narada Uvacha Pratimaya Mayo Dishta Sakshad Bhagavata Sama Tesam Archana Mahatmyam Tavid Astam Sudurata Ajam Adunikam Varchakam Swadharmad Yanupekṣayā Sakshat Shri Bhagavad-bhāgavatāmṛta Bhajantam Kritamamapi Napatyari Dosha Syat Guna Eva Mahamata Sevotama Mata Bhakti Phalamya Paramam Mahat. Sri Narada said, the deity forms I have mentioned are all equal to the original personality of Godhead. There's no need to even mention the glories of worshiping them, because I've already spoke about worshiping the Supreme Lord. Persons who worship the deity, be it ancient, new, or even concocted, provided they worship the deity as being directly the Lord himself, will not fall down from their religious status or be otherwise at fault, even if they neglect their prescribed duties and other such principles. Rather, their behavior should be considered exemplary, and such deity worship should be regarded as exalted devotional service, yielding the best fruits. Wow. I have to read the commentary to figure this out, even concocted. Wow. Even a regular worship of the Supreme Lord in his deity form is all auspicious because of the strength of bhakti. Worshippers who fail to observe all the prescribed varnashram duties are not to be considered fallen from the standards of civilized behavior, nor should they be considered unqualified for material reasons, nor faulted for imperfect knowledge of the method of worship. Ordinarily, offenses committed in ritual deity worship bring infamy in this life and hellish punishment in the next, but worship of the Lord's deity performed with faith and devotion is transcendental. Persons who practice devotional service are excused for the lack of material qualification. Now another verse. If persons doing devotional service to me happen to fail to execute some of their karmic duties, 30 million exalted sages carry out those obligations on their behalf. You know, different people have different natures. Mine is not deity worship, but it came to me, Govardhan. I remember somebody took it off of Govardhan Hill and was trying to give it to me, and I refused. Then I was one day in the restaurant. I remember this day in the Krishna-Balaram guest house. And that same person, another person came and put it in my hand. I said, "What is this?" It said, "That person's giving you Govardhan Shila." I said, "Here, take it. I can't worship." He said, "No, I'm not taking it back. It was given to you." So I thought, oh my God, I'm leaving in 5 days. I don't know, I don't know what I remember I told you or not. I hope it's interesting. And I went to Padmanabha Goswami, father, Vishwambar Goswami, who was his grandfather of the Goswamis, was close with Bhaktivinoda Thakur and supported our mission when other Goswamis were against it. And I went to him and I told him, "Look, I don't have time to worship and I'm going abroad." And he said, "Well, I saw you have tulsis in your temples, so as long as you have tulsi. And it's a very simple worship." And then he quoted from the CC. You bathe, you dry, and you offer tulsi and you offer your bhoga. The general opinion of saintly persons is that devotional worship of the Supreme Lord is always praiseworthy. An exalted Vaishnava as Acharya is considered deity worship, a principal activity of pure devotional service. The primary meaning of the word bhakti is seva, service, and service to the Lord in the form of deity worship includes elements of all the methods of bhakti. The worship leads to the highest perfection of life, far beyond accomplishments in the 4 ordinary categories of human endeavor. One can reach perfection by honoring even a blade of grass, provided one sees within the presence of the Supreme Lord, or by just once uttering or hearing even a faint semblance of the Lord's name. It goes on and makes further distinctions. But good, we will stop for there, and always thanking the people who had their cameras on. Himalata did, and so did Jamuna Jaya. It's nice to see a face. Okay, yes, thank you. Very nice. Okay. Jamuna Jaya probably went for a class. So Gail, you get your questions.
Good morning, Maharaj.
Hey, Brahmatirtha, this BI Institute and like going to the moon to do your research is so exciting. It's such a cutting edge thing.
Well, I thought we should go there. I just got to change bodies. That's all. Thank you. I like. Yeah, it's inspiring to hear Sanatana Goswami. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
needed that.
Okay, great. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sometimes it takes a while for the unmuting to respond.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a question, but I was just curious because I like Padmanabha Swami, if we're talking about the same person.
No. Padmanabha Goswami of Radharaman.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense now.
The other
Okay.
Padmanabha Swami, no. No, I'm not glorifying the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Okay. I see Yabed Sundari. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. My prayers for your people.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you. We need your prayers, really.
They're there.
Can you hear me?
What's that?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I said we need your prayers, Maharaj, please.
I see that. I will. My prayers are there. Good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's a miracle that they're keeping the internet on. I can't
Yeah. It's
believe
some
that.
sort of internet, Maharaj. It's not a proper one, but sometimes
Anyway, it's something.
Yeah, it's
Hemalatharada, thank you so much. Okay. I'm looking at all the names. Yudhisthira, nice to see you. Nice to see Yabed Sundari's daughter walking in freedom in USA. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks for the class.
Okay, you're getting your exercise. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking at all the other names and thanking everybody for coming. Okay, I will end now. Okay. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha Patitanam Pavanenya.